Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are watching from and the time you are viewing us. I'm Benjamin Amefle. I am a legal practitioner in Nigeria, residing here in Abuja. This channel is all about law. We discuss Nigerian legal issues, Nigerian legal system. We discuss everything about Nigerian law. So if you have any issue, you have everything, you want any question at all, you want to ask on Nigerian law, do not hesitate to ask us, and we promise you we are going to answer whatever your question is as far as it borders on Nigerian law. That is what we do in this particular channel, and that is our niche. Today, the aspect of law we are going to discuss on is matrimonial jurisprudence, that is matrimonial law, issues about marriage. And today, we are going to look at an aspect of marriage, that is the marriage under the Act. It is very important that we let you know that we have two types of marriages under Nigerian law. Although you can hear people talking about various types of marriages like court marriage, there's nothing like court marriage in Nigeria. We have marriage under the Act. People can talk about court marriage, church marriage, Islamic marriage, traditional marriage. Yes, but in Nigerian legal system under the law, we have only two types of marriage. Any marriage that is celebrated in Nigeria can only be either marriage under the Act or marriage under the customary law. Today, in this video, the aspect of marriage we are going to discuss today is marriage under the Act. And the topic of discussion today is how to obtain marriage certificate. How to obtain marriage certificate in Nigeria. It's also important that I make you understand that marriage certificate is very important if anyone wants to celebrate marriage under the Act. Now, marriage certificate is the first thing you obtain for you to celebrate marriage under the Act. You don't celebrate marriage before you get a certificate under the Act. You get certificate before the marriage. I don't know whether I'm confusing somebody. You don't celebrate the marriage before you get certificate of marriage, before you get marriage certificate. But you get marriage certificate in Nigeria before you now celebrate marriage under the Act. Now, how do you get marriage certificate? Now, listen. Any party to the intended marriage, that is either the man or the woman, will approach a marriage registrar in the district where he or she wants to celebrate marriage. In Nigeria, the Marriage Act, which regulates marriages in Nigeria, divides Nigeria into various districts. So, you approach the registrar of a district where you intend to celebrate the marriage and obtain a form. In legal parlance, we call it Form A. This form requires, it has personal information and things it wants you to, it has its requirements. You will see there, when you see the form, you fill your name and whatsoever that is stated, all the information, the form will ask you the questions and you fill it according to what the form requires. After the form, you swear an affidavit and attach it to the form and return the form you have filled together with the affidavit to the registrar of the marriage. Now, what will the affidavit contain? The affidavit will contain facts that show that none of the parties to the marriage has any impediment, has any lawful impediment or any condition that will prohibit him or disqualify him or her from celebrating the marriage, such as that you are not previously married, that there is no subsistent marriage going on or that's existing between any of the parties with other persons. That is to show that the parties that intend to marry are single, or they are divorced, or they are widower or widows. Having certified that the parties are of age, that is, they are up to 21 years. Of course, in Nigerian law, for you to celebrate marriage under the Act, the age requirement is 21 years. However, a person who is up to 18 and wants to marry under the Act will go ahead to obtain what is called consent from the parents. He will not go on his own and marry. He has to obtain consent from his parent or anybody acting as his parent, or what we call in legal parlance, persons that are acting in locus parentis, people that are acting in the place of their parents. So this is what he'll obtain to show that he's of age. 3, he has to show that any party, one of the parties to the marriage, has resided in the district where he intends to celebrate the marriage for a period of at least 15 days preceding the time he brought the notice for marriage, and that none of the parties has married that is married either customarily or in act or under the Act to any other person apart from the person he intends to marry with. And also that the relationship between the parties that intend to marry is not the relationship that the law forbids. There's no relationship that the law forbids. There is what is called the degree of consanguinity and affinity. The degree of consanguinity and affinity. That means there is an extent of relationship that the law forbids. The prohibited degree of consanguinity and affinity. They are not having any relationship that the law will not allow them to marry. That is that the parties are not siblings. They are not brothers and sisters. And they are not, the woman is not the mother of the husband, and the husband is not the father. You don't marry your father. You don't marry your son. You don't marry your mother. You don't marry your sister. You don't marry a wife to your son. You don't marry a husband to your son. You don't marry a husband to your daughter. These are the things. So, these are the things that you have to swear under your affidavit. All the facts that show that you are not under any legal impediment. So, in a nutshell, a person intending to marry either of the parties to the marriage has to approach a marriage registry and give to the registrar of the marriage a notice of marriage. Notice of marriage is when you obtain the form, fill it. That as you have filled the form, it becomes a notice. When you fill the form, attach the affidavit. What you are now carrying is a notice. You now carry that form you filled with the affidavit and give it to the registrar of marriage. When you have done that, you have notified the registrar of marriage of your intention to marry. It's called notice of marriage. Now that notice of marriage, the registrar now of marriage has to take that your notice of marriage and enter it in a book known as marriage notice book. That is the second stage now. So after the notice of marriage that is given by one of the parties who intend to marry, then the registrar of marriage will now enter that notice of marriage in a marriage notice book. That is number 2. The third thing is publication. After the notice is put in a marriage notice book, the registrar of marriage has to publish the notice of marriage in the front of his office for up to 21 days. The essence of this is to enable people who have any reason why the parties who intend to marry cannot marry. If there is any lawful impediment, such a person can come up and say, these two persons cannot marry because of XYZ. This is called entering of caveat. It is by anybody who knows any lawful impediment to the marriage can go there where the notice of marriage is displayed and right there, prohibited, and now give his address so that he can be contacted to explain the reason for the prohibition or the caveat he put. And when contacted, he explains, then the party to the marriage that is involved, who has an act that is complaints against, will now come and will be given fair hearing. If it is found out that the prohibition has merit, the marriage will not go on. Then, and the marriage registrar will not issue the marriage certificate. Then it is found that the allegation of caveat does not have substance, the caveat will be removed, and then the registrar of marriage will now issue certificate of marriage. Then when this certificate of marriage is issued, the parties now can go and marry. However, there is an exception to this rule, wherein the spouse or the persons who intend to marry cannot go to the route or this process of obtaining marriage certificate. The minister in charge of marriage, that is the Minister of Interior, can dispense with the issuance of marriage certificate and issuance of notice of marriage and the display of this notice of marriage for 21 days. If he is satisfied by affidavit that the parties who intend to marry do not have any lawful impediment as to why they are going to any lawful impediment that will stop them from marriage, the Minister of Interior has the powers to issue what is called special license. This special license will empower the parties to the marriage to go ahead and marry without the requirement of this marriage notice 21 days publication. The Minister of Marriage is the only person who can dispense with this requirement. That is to say, for a person to marry, the person must either obtain marriage certificate from the Registrar of Marriage or a special license from the Minister of Interior. After he has obtained that, he can now go and marry. Note, marriage certificate or license, minister's special license, do not show that parties are married. They only show that they have fulfilled the requirement for marriage, and also only telling them to go ahead and marry. So it is possible that one can get marriage certificate without getting married. In other words, marriage certificate is not a conclusive evidence that parties are married. It is only a permission stating that they have met the requirement for them to marry. So that is what we are going to talk about today. So for any marriage under the Act, the first thing that is expected to be done is to obtain marriage certificate, or in exceptional cases, special license by the minister. In the next video we are going to upload, we are going to discuss how marriage under the Act is being celebrated. What we have done today is how to do the first thing, that is obtaining marriage certificate, and the implication of marriage certificate, which is to show that you are qualified to marry. It is not showing that you are married. Thank you for listening, but remember what I've told you. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, make sure you like and share our video, and God will bless you. Thank you very much.